Good evening and welcome to GM Tips. I'm going to turn it down. As you can tell, I got the Republican National Convention. Why? Because I'm going to listen to both the Republican and the Democratic conventions, part of being a smart voter. Uh, so tonight, and I'm not going to talk about that. God knows we have had too many conversations, and I know I have. And if you want to know my politics one day, hit me up on Rick M. the GM on Twitter, and I'll be plus to talk with you and chat and DM. But otherwise, please don't ask me on YouTube or anything else. I truly believe that these things should be about GMing, and it's political enough GMing. We don't need to add real world politics. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the art of the GM and how to be, at least what I think the keys are, looking at the GM's guide in Pathfinder, but this could be used for any GMing of any type of system. But what are really the keys to really being an effective GM? And I think that's, I've hit around it with other topics I've talked on and other things that I've challenged on. But I think this, bar none, is the discussion of GMing itself and the core values of a GM and how do we get things to where the characters have an enjoyable time with us GMing. Now, number one, and I'm going to turn this down a little more. Sorry about this. There. So, one of the things it talks about in the art of GMing, and this is on pages 29, really through pages 60 of the GM's guide. One of the things it talks about that's really going is making it happen. And I love this statement that it makes in there. With great power comes a sense that maybe your players don't appreciate your efforts enough. I think every GM from the start to the most seasoned GM feels that sometimes. We all do. I feel it. It's the feeling that we pour. And we do, folks. Great GMs, we pour and pour and pour into campaigns and how to make it just such a memorable experience for our players. If you're not doing that, you will. Don't worry. In time. Again, it says you spend your time drawing up maps and all these other things. And no matter how it goes and how you see it in your brain as a GM, and this is the first point of GMing. Nothing ever goes as planned. There's a very famous statement that a general made, and it's really true. No plan ever survives contact with the enemy. Let's adapt it to game systems. No campaign or gaming plan survives contact with players and the party. And it's truth. I don't care how many hours you want it to go a certain way and you envision it in your head, and I do. I'm a creative, so I'm envisioning how this is all going to play out. And no matter how many times I envision it, it never goes that way. And that's something that I think you just got to realize, which comes to the first point of a GM. Don't force things. I don't care how frustrated you get or how much you envision something going a certain way. You really do not want to force, or let's use another term, railroad your players into a certain way of playing out a campaign. And, one of the statements, again, it makes on page 29 of the GM's guide, which I really love, is from Pathfinder, is in many cases it's entirely reasonable to say, hey folks, this is the adventure I've prepared, work with me. And it says many groups of players respond positively if asked for help. After all, they want the game to go smoothly too. Perhaps they just need a stronger hook for their characters, the promise of a bigger reward, or a change of pace from something too similar to what they did last time. And really, I think sometimes why our plans don't survive are those three things. Number one, are we hooking the players? A great Evil Squeegee on And I go to him a lot. And Squeege, I hope you appreciate the comments for you and the following. He has the thing of the hook for the players, which is the dramatic statement or the dramatic thing that draws them in. What is their purpose? The dramatic purpose that the players must go on, or something will happen, consequence. Even that, you want to draw something that, first of all, is unique and different, that the players haven't seen 1,000 times before. And even if it is the same thing, it's dressed in such a way that it doesn't even appear to be the same thing. So we as GMs, I think with creativity, really need to come up with a hook each time that's unique enough that the party just wants to dive in head first. And again, there's nothing wrong with asking the party to help you as a GM. You can make that statement at the beginning of every campaign. Hey guys and ladies, let's help me to make this a great experience. They want to. Despite how antagonistic players can be, despite how lazy sometimes they can be, despite the different personality types, at the end of the day, they wouldn't be playing an RPG unless they really wanted to or had some sort of an interest. The question is, are you hooking them at their level? The second thing is following the PC's lead. You know, even if you lay out the structure, and again, I go back to Evil Squeegee's kind of layout of things. What he says is all you can really do is do that dramatic purpose. Then the challenges or obstacles that the players will run into in order to achieve that purpose. But at the end of the day, the last two parts that are up to the players. How the players respond to the challenges and the obstacles is up to them. And it's up to the type of player and background they have. And also, it is the fun of watching it unfold and responding to them. I tell my players, and it's true in the Pathfinder campaign I'm running right now, and this can be any campaign, okay? Please don't take it that this is a Pathfinder rah-rah-rah sis boom bah session. I give credits to them, but it is usable under any system you want to run. The thing is with my players, there's a way that they could play out the campaign called The Reign of Winter, and I'm running them through it right now. And it is modified. I don't ever leave any of the Paizo stuff as is. Sorry, Paizo folks. I love to adapt your material. So it has totally gone so far sometimes off the tracks. And yet it comes right back to the tracks again. How is that? It's following the PC's lead. And then combining that with the illusion of free choice. At the end of the day, you want to give the PCs the illusion of free choice. You want them to think they are choosing their own destiny. Even sometimes if you are gently guiding them in the background. Don't ever make them feel railroaded. Don't ever force them down the beaten path. Help to gently bring them back to their purpose each time. But at the end of the day, it is up to them whether they're going to follow that path or not. It really is. And a couple things it says as an actor, the GM is an actor, and these are really key. And it is hard, especially, it's calling you sometimes to be an extrovert, and I know some of you by nature are introverts, and I respect that totally. Look, we're all different personality types, and at the end of the day, you have to be a little bit of the actor, and there's some key things you can do. Number one, your volume and style. Have a good even volume when you're talking. So like I'm talking now, a good even volume. You don't go down to this little voice they can't hear, because otherwise your players are going to go, huh? Wow, what did you just say? You've got to keep an even volume. Even if you have no clue what the heck you're doing, keep your voice tone at a good level and your volume at a good level. Number one, the style. That's your panache as a GM. How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to do a stand-up style where you're very stand-up and get up there and have lots of gestures for your players? Or do you want to just have gestures, not stand up? And always, and this is a key in any conversation, and guys, I know it's hard. I've practiced this all my life. Eye contact You guys grill me on this when I don't eye contact the camera and look at you. I've gotten a couple of the Rick, look up, or Rick, do this. It is about addressing it with eye contact, and that is so important to do that. So the GM is an actor. So number one, make it happen. Number two, be an actor. You are an orator. Have a dialogue with the players. When you are running an NPC, when you are filling it in with villains, have that dialogue. And don't have the same, I'm going to beat you, every time. Some of you, it's okay in the beginning to do that, all right? But get used to being unique. Every character in every show that you love to watch has a unique style to them, a unique way they deal with the good guys, a unique way they deal with the player characters or the main characters of the story. Make each NPC have that too, a uniqueness. For instance, there's a Chelish merchant that, by the way, does not exist in Reign of Winter in any way, shape, or form that I put there. And I always do this. Oh, hello, my fellow adventurers. How was your outing this time? Profitable? I hope so. Would you like to deal with me today? And then there's the little imp. What shall we do with them, master? Let's count all the things. Oh, the master has something special for you today, adventurers. Now, she is a pact-bound imp, which do a little reading on them. But I love to give each one a flair and a panache and a dialogue that the players are so used to that they go, I know that guy. I know them. This is how they dialogue me all the time. And that's what's familiar for them. And they like that. Even a bartender. Hello, adventurers. How is your outing here? I ask you not to mess up my bar. If I do, I got my cudgel back here, and I crack you upside the head if you do it. You can have so much fun. And that's the great part. You get to act without having to get up on the stage in front of millions of people. And you get to be an actor. And that's cool. And it's fun. Giving direct, or if the party talks, sit down. So, in other words, let the party have their say at times. And don't have to always be standing up and staring at them. You can sit and sit back. Like I will sit back like I am the contemplative NPC. To let them know I'm listening to their words and I'm hanging on their words. Give direction. Don't be afraid at times to help players. Hey, you know what, Scott, you want to do this. And Scott's one of my players, by the way. And Scott, I'm going to give you good props. I know I give him a hard time sometimes. I'm sorry, Scott. I know if you watch these, you probably think I pick on you and single you out. I don't. It just, I pick different things, and sometimes you fall on those topics. But Scott has this technique that he likes to do called death from above. So I say, okay, Scott, so you're going to fly up and come down? Because that's going to take you around to fly up and get ready to come down. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. It's okay if you know what your party likes to do, to give them that direction, to keep them on track, so that they're saying the things each round to prepare their player. And you don't have to come back to them and go, well, you didn't tell me. Give them a little direction. It's okay to do. Have presentation. When you're getting to players, they love maps and handouts. I got the maps for these adventure paths, and when I lay them out, ooh, they pour over them. The players are up there pouring, wow, what's this? What's this? And then I start pointing things out that are of interest. And I can tell them they can get a cartography map of that. Ooh, that really fires them up. So then anytime they want to see the map, I unfold the map. And it draws them in because they get this vision of where are they and what are they doing. And then have other props, like you can have trees, you can have buildings. Dwarven Forge does some great buildings. Oh my gosh, expensive a little bit sometimes, but very good. And there's some other people that do that as well, and they'll do insides of dungeons and everything else, so you can lay it out. Have you ever seen those pictures? And I know you have, of those players that got those whole things laid out, those game masters for their players. Oh, I drool over those. I'm sorry, I do. I want those. I really do. My fiance knows that, and she's a sweetheart about it. Music. I play music in the background. Sometimes the players are like, why are you playing that? Mood. You are going in. Sirenscape, soundscapes. There are so many others. SoundForge. Sorry, SoundForge. I haven't mentioned you in a while. SoundForge. There are so many people you can get music from. Get soundtracks from movies. You know, iTunes right now has got a cool thing. I know some of you guys don't like it, where you can share and download lots of movie music because you pay a monthly fee. Do it. It gives you a ton of things to draw from, and you can build your soundtracks. And I suggest you build them ahead of time. Lighting. Set the lighting. Make sure there's enough light so the players can see, but also have the mood lighting. You can change colors of the light or do different things to create the effects for your players. Attention and distractions. How do you keep parties' attentions? Well, once in a while, you got to let them banter a little, okay? No GM can, and I used to do this all the time. All right, guys, we get to BS all week. We need to really let them BS sometimes. Just don't let them BS the whole session. It gets out of hand sometimes. And you got to know how to nudge them without making them feel forced. That's really the key with it. Sorry, my buddy Newt Gingrich on there. Narrative techniques. There's a lot of different narrative techniques. You use description. That is a huge deal. Make sure your descriptions are there. Sometimes we hate reading the descriptions in the book. We'll pre-practice them a little bit. Have it on your mind when you're going in. Try to read it for a second and then annotate it in a way that it sounds like you are the one laying it out for them and painting that picture. You are the Bob Ross of your game when you're doing that narrative description. Spotlight certain things. Even on the maps, call attention to what's going to draw attention. If there's something they need to be noticing, call attention to it. Make it so obvious sometimes. I hate to say that they know that that's it, unless the game specifically says don't make it known to them. Cliffhangers. Oh, I love cliffhangers. And they give a couple things. Great examples. An injured NPC claws his way out of a nearby passage, barely alive. A messenger arrives with bad news just as the characters think it's all okay. You know, that Space Armada ship comes in saying, "Oh, Lord, the aliens are coming from the outskirts." And the players are going, "Wait a minute, I just stopped the evil empire. What the heck?" And that's the cliffhanger. A monster burst into a party, or an alien, or a cyborg, or a supervillain, or just go down the list and they burst in and there's like dun dun dun. I know I'm being overly a dork on this, aren't I? The party is falsely accused. Even after everything goes so on, the party's like, yes, we did it. The accuser comes up and say, they murdered the Senshal. They killed them. They're guilty. They're a threat to the Empire. And your characters are going, holy crap on a cracker. That's not good. The villain arrives to gloat. Mwahaha. So, players, you think you have foiled me? Not this time. I will show you what I can do. Never doubt this. You will feel my wrath. That's as easy as that sometimes. I know, hammy, right? But it does. It draws your players in there and they're like, I want to throttle that villain. It's a cliffhanger. A defeated foe shows up prepared to settle old scores. You beat the evil cleric of Zan Kuthan or of the Vale or Cthulhu. But wait, are they dead? Are they defeated? Or do they come back to exact their revenge? These are all cliffhangers. You can cut away scenes. Hey, these guys are on this side, but in the background you hear this, and over here this is going on. Especially if you got players in different places. You can cut scene from one to the other to let them know what's going on and keep your party involved. Backstory. Make sure you have a backstory for them. You know, why are they going on that quest? To find the Holy Grail. Okay, but why is the Holy Grail important? Because it's the Grail of Christ. Okay, come on. Why is it important? Yes, it's the Grail of Christ, but what do you need it for? Have a backstory. You can't just expect players, and especially even in a module, please do not just start in with the players. You went to this village. Some of you have done that, and I'm playing in some of your campaigns. Please don't take me wrong. I'm not trying to slam you, okay? But just know, when you're drawing people in, if you really want to draw them in, prep ahead of time and lead it in. Here's the difference, okay? You came to the Citadel to deal with this situation. So I'm going to pick one here, okay? I've got one, and I will read it for you. Ha-ha! Plunder and Peril. So, let's start out with the story, okay? Rum Punch. The town curves along the shoreline of Motoku Island, spreading across bridges to a few small islands sitting in the deep blue bay. Okay. As you enter the bay, you see this town that sprawls out across the bay. You can see the spires and arches of different bridges that span its length, inviting you into this civilization. There are pirate flags flying. There are ships anchored at the docks, powerful ships of war, frigates and caravels. Okay. They have all shapes and sizes, from your smallest barge to your largest caravel. They just block out the sky with their masts that sail into the wind and stand tall like trees. You see people bustling around the wharf front. They're carrying different items. Some of them wear pirate garb. Others wear simple sailors' outfits. Others are wharf rats that you can tell by their bare feet and the way they're carrying all the payload. This is the town of Christos. Do you see the difference? And I've done it too, and I'm just as guilty that I will read this. Okay? You want to be effective. Read it a little bit, even if you're just coming to it. Okay, tell the party, give me 2 seconds here. I got to read something. Take the 2 seconds, let them BS, and then call back. All right, guys. So, coming into the harbor, and then you lead in like I lead in. And do it your own way. You don't have to describe it the way I do. Paint the picture however you want. But try not to read as much as possible. Try to be the person that just knows it in their head and is painting this picture. Players go, whoa, Rick prepared this time. He's not reading from the book. Holy crap, Rick isn't reading at all. In fact, this is amazing. I didn't even know he could describe things like that. See? Those are the kind of things. Flashbacks. Your players' backgrounds. Perfect example. I said to our cleric of Sarenrae, he's an Azamar, his father or his stepfather died horribly at the hands of a werewolf, and he doesn't know how to cure. He tried to cure his father and could not for some reason, or his stepfather, which he saw as his father. So I say, as you stand in the meadow, you see the form. It's a unique form. Its gray hair glistens in the moonlight, and the white streak runs down one side of its eye. And as you watch, you remember standing in the fields with your father and the horrified sight of this creature rising from the stalks of corn. He called to you to run to the house and to flee as he stood to protect you from its snarling face and dripping jaws. You ran, but behind you could hear the sound of battle and the cries as your stepfather was being torn limb from limb. You dare to glance back to see his blood flying as he tries to fight desperately to protect you, but you know that he will never see the light of the next day. And as you gaze into the moonlight now, you see this creature, and the scene runs behind you, and your blood boils. Flashbacks. They have an amazing power, especially when it's your power over their background. And your players get involved with that. The science of GMing, okay? Know the basics, know the dice, know when to roll them and when not to. Have all the necessary game accessories, whether it's a grid layout, whether it's, scenery, whatever. Have all the things laid out you need. Any cards, any other decks, things you need, books. And then try to follow a path of flow. Even though your characters are going to go different directions, you have a flow and a tempo. And it's okay. Let them go off to that cadence and bring them back to the cadence. But don't do it in a way that they feel force marched by the drummer's drum. Let them drum to their own cadence, but somehow match it to your cadence. That way the two come together in an epic crescendo. I know, terms, right? These are some things that are so crucial when you're GMing. And please, 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 and I've hit this before, and this is so true in any situation. Players will frustrate you sometimes, okay? They are going to frustrate you. And even after you set out all these encounters, build all these maps, laid out all these cities, do all these other maps, they may never reach them. They may go the one way you didn't lay out the scenery. And then you have to adapt. GMs, it is up to you to adapt. It is not up to your players to come back to your story. Now, there's several ways I see people railroad their players. And don't ever doubt that I see this. I watch your shows on Twitter. I watch your different things. And I'm a people reader. And I will say this, and I'm not saying it in a preachy way. You can say all the flowery words you want to me. I cut right through the crap and see what you really are doing. Here are the ways that a GM railroads. Number one, player goes off to the right. So he uses some encounter to force march them back to the middle again. Okay? When setting out the game, they say, wait a minute, you can't do that background. No. Nope, won't allow it. Sorry. Gotta go this way. Okay? My world doesn't allow that. Nope. Nope, they don't have those races. Come on. Who's railroading who now? And you can say, well, no, that's my world. No. Players are going to make characters, okay? You have to somehow adapt it in a way that's reasonable for both. Okay, there's concessions that have to be made on both sides. And sometimes those concessions can be small. Sometimes they can be great. Perfect example, and I wasn't trying to railroad you. I had a player that came to me and said, Rick, okay, this time I'm not doing this type of character. I'm doing an occultist. But it's going to be an occultist that is a battle herald. Oh, Lord. I knew where he was going. It's his other character all over again in so many ways, just different little twists and abilities. So he's just flavoring it a different way. But it's the same vanilla character. I got a little upset with it. Why did I get upset? I think because, not because he wanted to do the same character. That annoyed me a little bit. But okay, you want to do it? And that's why I said, at the end of the day, you can create whatever you want to create. Understand the party may make fun of you again, because it's the same character they see every time in just another flavor. And then, of course, it's like, well, this guy always uses this, or this guy, well, the one guy he was referring about is going to do a total different type of roguish character this time. And I love that about the guy. Totally different alignment scheme. Totally different backstory. Totally different circumstances. Yes, it's a rogue, but not your mama's rogue. Or type of rogue. So keep that in mind. It's okay for players to want to do these things. But what got me mad is when players want to railroad me and say, but why can't I have this item? But why can't I have this? And it's the only place that I'm a little bit staunch, and I say because it's rare and because you're second level. Is that railroading? A little bit, yes, because I'm not allowing carte blanche creativity. But let's face it, there's a difference between creativity and greedy and wanting to get as much as you can. And I'm sorry if he took it wrong when I laid him out in this, because I like the guy, but it's true. He tends to like to manipulate things. And even another person said to me, you got to be careful because of what I'm seeing of this guy. This guy tends to like to push the limits, and we all have to keep him honest as a party. He sees it as sour grapesness. I see it as power play. But at the end of the day, I allow him in the party, and I like him in the party. So it's my thing to deal with. But just know that you're going to have different personality types. And it's not excusable to just boot the person out because you don't like their personality type. As GMs, we have it on our own is to try to work with all personality types. Some of them will annoy us more than others. And that's an issue on us, not in the person necessarily across the table. Now, yes, there are things that are that way, and there are people that are annoying that way. Don't get me wrong. But they're still playable, and they're still gameable, and they're still GMable. Don't railroad them because you don't like a quirk in their personality or you want everybody to line up to be uniform. I saw one show, and yes, I'm not going to name you, but you will know who you are in this because I do want these type of GMs to understand a little bit about themselves. They love the uniform happy party that their viewers are all going to vote for and love. That's railroading. If a new player comes in that's not used to your campaign, to expect them to march to your drum is unreasonable. As GMs, we got to have flexibility too. And we need to a certain level give in to it because maybe if we allow that player to play the character they want the way they want, it might be more fun than we think it will be. And it just might appeal to our audience better. Because you know what? Let's face it. People, if we're going to televise these on Roll20 and everything else and Twitch and put them up there, people will recognize your annoyances with each other. They will see the tension that goes on, and they will see all these things. And it's up to us to a GM to try to cut through the tension and make it a fun experience for everybody. But we're not going to be able to cater to everybody. It's just a matter that we do the best we can at the end of the day. Also, be prepared and read up on character types and player types, okay? So player types, there's a whole thing in the GM's guide on, this. You can always fix a broken game. That's another thing that they talk about on page 46. I'm not going to hit that as much. I'm not going to hit the game changers on 47 and 48. It is really after that we get into down the way the past the converting of the systems and the plots and everything. Past those pages, you will hit what's called the personalities of the players. Read this, please. All GMs. I don't care if you've been doing this 6,000 years. I don't care if you're a Paizo writer. We all need to read, learn, and refresh ourselves. A friend of mine said something profound to me once that has stuck with me. And this goes into the GMing part of things. That profound statement was, Rick, you must be a learner. The people that succeed in life are the ones that are always in the mode of learning, that are never too old to learn a new trick, that are never too old to learn a new way of doing things, that are never too old to relearn the arts that they're so good at. They are constantly honing their skills. They are constantly relearning where they're going wrong. They're constantly in self-evaluation mode, not at navel-gazing, but just honest self-evaluation. He says the day you quit doing that, the day you think you got it figured out, the day you think you're the expert, the day you really think you have every answer, it is time to go hang up your GM's hat. And I'm paraphrasing, it was my sales hat. But your GM's hat and go golfing the rest of your life. Hear that, GMs? Hear that, GMs? It convicted me. And I'm not saying that to say you should listen to it. No, hear that. If you hear in the inflections of my voice, you'll know that that is one of the most profound things that continues to impact me. You want to know how many years ago that I was told that? I'm 48 this year. I was told that when I was 25 years old. Want to think how many years I've reflected on that? Every year of my life. There are times that I've had bosses that have annoyed me to no end that I wanted to tell them to go screw themselves. But I didn't because of that one principle. There was times that coworkers annoyed me when they confronted me on things, but I didn't get annoyed because of that principle. I have been told that I am one of the most easily teachable people that most bosses have ever come across in their life. That humbles me. It does. I don't see myself that way. You think I see myself that way, you're sorely mistaken. I see myself as an arrogant, selfish, know-it-all person sometimes. So for them to say that, it's humble, but it's also reaffirming for me. And you can see I get a little misty-eyed because it means a lot to me. It defines who Rick Morey is. It really does. And yes, I've given you my real name. God forbid. I won't spell it for you, but I've given you my real name. But it is the essence of who I am. And even as a player or a GM, I am always learning. I never have all the answers. I never have it figured out. Even as I'm doing this video, I promise you I will redo it somewhere down the line because something will change and I don't have all the answers. And did you notice? I didn't just quote from Rick's mind. I read from a book because there's some great quotes other people have made that have impacted me. There are great videos out on YouTube. Please watch them. Whether it's Matt Mercer's, whether it's, God, there's so many of you guys. I'm sorry if I don't know every one of your names. There are so many videos. Please, please watch them. Humorous and all. You never know enough as GM. And they're going to say something at the right time that maybe you need to hear it, that you're open to it, that will profoundly change your style of GMing forever. That's why you rewatch things. That's why you reread things. Because there's many times I've reread a text on my life about sales that I got something the first time that the second time around, that same thing wasn't the thing I got. It was something brand spanking new. And it's because I had a situation come up that helped me to be open to that other statement. Oh, I'd heard it before, but I didn't need it at that time in my mind, so I didn't listen. I heard it, but I didn't listen. Difference. And I'm going to say this to you. Reread your books. Reread them. I am so glad I'm rereading this for you guys because I'm already catching some ideas. I'm going, crap, I did okay in that, but I haven't done enough in that. And it's humbling. You want to grow as a GM? Do a couple of these GM tips. Let me tell you, it humbles you because you're constantly reassessing who you are. These are the tips I have for you on great GMing. Now, you're going to watch somebody else's and they're going to give you other tips, and please do. Hear me out. Please do. Just add mine to one of your many ones that you listen to, okay? I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to state all the answers. There are other GMs that will do a better job of orating it than I will. There'll be others that will be more enthusiastic than me. There'll be some more that will be other more relaxed than me. That won't do all the gestures. I'm a gestureful DM. So understand this. It is a learning and relearning experience if you want to get good at being a GM. You have never arrived. I don't care how many sessions you have done, you have never arrived. Not until they put you in a pine box. And even then you haven't. So continually be that sponge that learns and that reuses things and it tries different ideas. Your players will love you for it. They will see that you're changing and it will convict them to change. Because after a while they're going to go, crap, he's changing so much. Why am I not changing? It's the same old out of me. And I give big props to our guy that plays the rogue and that plays our cleric. And that honestly plays some of our other things. And I give props to all my characters. They've all changed. All my players have. But the one who has changed the most profoundly, and it should convict the rest of you guys who've been playing in my campaign for a long time, Max has changed the most. I give Max huge kudos. He's not my favorite player, and some of you will think he is because I talk about him. I am just astounded that a man that is older than me, I believe, and Max, if I'm not, correct me, but is older than me, is constantly learning how to be different types of rogues and characters and play different and orate different and use different skills. I'm humbled. I'm not like him. That man has come, and I give him an A+ in role play. The man has really stretched the boundaries of his limits, and he continues to grow. And others of us should take a page out of that book. And I'm not just saying because he plays skilled players. He didn't always do that. He played the proselytizing priest. He played the plucky undead slayer rogue. He plays the BSing spy. he's going to play something else that will shock the party. Let me say, as GMs, we should be as convicted by our players learning that way. If they're doing it, why aren't we? Just a thought, you know? Take it or leave it as you want. Again, I'm not saying these are gospel. Please don't take it that they are. The things I read out of the book, yeah, they tend to be some core ideas. The rest is Rick's mishmash of experience. Take it for what it's worth. Take away the things you want. Don't take away the things you don't want. It's all good. As long as you grow and continue to evolve and grow as a GM, my job is done. And will continue to be done. And I appreciate you taking 40 minutes out of your time, actually going on 41, to spend this with me. And I hope this becomes one of your favorite videos. Download it, put it in your things, relook at it. And hopefully it becomes a tool that will help you to be one of the best GMs you can be. Then I've done something if I've just impacted one of you. Thanks again, and have a wonderful night. I'm going to have a second part 2 coming up of a different thing, but I thought that this was an apropos time with the elections and change and growth to do this. So, have a great night, everyone.